I have always wanted to be a teacher for as long as I can remember. I was probably influenced maybe by the teachers that I had and enjoyed their classes. I was born in a Midwestern town and reared by my mother, who was divorced at my age of maybe 5 or so, I think. We lived across the street from one of my teachers, and I would walk to school with her. Maybe the influence of being around educators that I admired and respected influenced me at an early age, I'm not sure, but I've always wanted to be a teacher. I think the principals that I worked for saw the talent that I had and the interest in students and encouraged me to apply for certification at the administrative level. I first started here at Santa Monica College. We moved from the Midwest to Santa Monica, and then I went on to get my bachelor's degree from California State University and my master's degree at USC. So I've just always been interested in advancing my interests and my desire in working with students.
I met Miss Jenkins in elementary school. I was a problem child, so I kind of adopted her.
When I first met Cameron, I believe he was about 8 or 9. I was a principal at that time, and he was having anger problems.
I had to feel the wrath of how Reaganomics affected my specific area in Los Angeles off of 64th and Broadway.
I remember distinctly one situation. His teacher had to bring him to my office bodily because he wouldn't walk. So he brought him there, sat him down at my desk, and he stayed there drawing pictures and doing things like that while I was about my business throughout the school.
Influencer to me is a leader. Somebody that could follow as well as lead. That's what makes a good leader. Everyone has the ability to influence, but all influence isn't good, and that's where our discernment comes in to differentiate which one is right. So she influenced me to seek knowledge and to see my creative side in regards to the coloring that she used as a therapy for me, being a broken child at that given time, to see creativity.
After I graduated from undergrad, when I was looking at how can I pursue a career as an educator, and her being basically the only person in our family to go get a higher degree, especially in education, who has worked with children. You know, me and my other family members, they work with people and they're educators in their own right, but she did it professionally. So I would ask her about her experience, especially going to school, being an educator, bringing those skills back to the community. And from there, I think we've really grown to have a great friendship.
I have been a lifelong educator, first at the elementary level. Having the desire to travel, I traveled throughout the United States to some extent, throughout the world to a greater extent. I have several teaching experiences, one in Japan in the early years, and later in Jakarta, Indonesia, where the kids looked like they were, in teaching in some of these places, you can compare that to this United States. It's like night and day. With each experience, which was so different in terms of culture, it gave me personally insight into how people live in other countries and how their educational structure is in other countries.
But as a young woman, she actually traveled around the world. She traveled to Japan right after the Second World War and taught English there. And she's a woman who's traveled around the world. So people who know her know that she's everywhere, right? She does so many things. She's lived a full life, a beautiful life.
In some ways, I could bring in each of the experiences that I had wherever I went, because each one was different.
When she was in Japan and teaching the children there, I know she's impacted a lot of kids. It's just in her when you have a pure soul like that.
I volunteered at the Getty Museum. In fact, I'm still considered as emeritus. I have that status, and I continue to write for the Travertine Times. The one about inspiration is the last one that I wrote. I had the opportunity to start writing because that was a volunteer thing that they asked for us to do. Otherwise, I would not have written all of those articles, and they would not be compiled in a book.
I was looking in her book, and I was like, is that Miss Jenkins? And I looked. And I seen her with Hugh Hefner. You know, I had to question her about that. And then she told me, she said, no, we were having a friendly game of tennis on the property. I was like, okay, you know, but it's amazing things like that. And me and her used to play tennis with each other, you know, and she would always win as usual. She's a great tennis player.
I might have started here at Santa Monica College. And at that time, they had a tennis court. But to tell you my mother's thinking about it at the time, she didn't come from that era where, you know, I guess even she was aware of that Black people could play tennis. She said, that's a rich sport. Why are you I said, oh, I just like it. And I just continued playing it. And as a result, I've played in a lot of tournaments all over the place. People would sponsor tennis tournaments. And I remember playing in a series of tennis courts. My partner and I would win each one until we got to the last one. We ended up playing on his court. That was memorable because I got a chance to see the mansion, and he was very big at one time with all the playgirls and whatever.
She motivates me in many ways, based off of her being 96 years old. And I never thought I would make it to 20. So at the end of the day, to see someone at 96 still moving around, still playing tennis, and she's inspired me to think for myself and to let me know that everything is going to be okay.
I don't believe that someone can be successful if the people around you are suffering, right? So if you want to be successful, if you want to be a true influence, you need to be sure that the people around you are in a position that they can reach back and lift the people around them. There's an African concept that goes along with that, known as Sankofa. And it oftentimes goes along with the proverb, go back and fetch it. And I think Aunt Louvenia has done this in her life, where she's pushing forward in her life, but she's always going back and fetching the people behind her and lifting them up. And that's something that I aspire to do as well.
You can be an influencer by letting people know, get your thinking straight in terms of what's available for you if you just know it's possible. My familiar motto to my family is the following: give to the world the best you have, and the best will come back to you.